system, the system. Spread my name around your town. The system, only wanna bring us down. Trouble comes and I'm on the way. I'm walking downtown.
Oops, you caught me. I was pretending to play one of my favorite songs from the band Highway50. Sorry. But you're in for a treat because there's no pretending. I'm interviewing Laughlin and Darren Roebuck from the band Highway50, and there's no pretending here. They are the real thing. So stay tuned and enjoy their interview.
My name's Laughlin. I'm from Chelmsford, Massachusetts, and got started in music in 2nd grade playing piano. And that's that right there.
I'm Darren Roebuck, and I'm from the Los Angeles area, Palos Verdes Peninsula, and I got started in music at age 5 with piano, and then picked up guitar at 10.
I can play bass, mostly a keyboard player. He plays everything, almost.
I play everything. Guitar and bass primarily, and I dabble with keys and drums and voice.
I started as the original keyboard player of the samples, and I told them I knew how to play keyboards, which I didn't really at the time, and that was late 80s, and that was that. It was a party. We went to a party, and I met these guys, and we all were broke, so we named the samples after going to King Soopers and eating the samples. And that's what happened.
Yeah, it was, I remember 1994, I was working as a lighting guy at the Fox, and one day randomly sitting there sort of bored after sound check, and Ted Guggenheim, the manager for the samples, came up and asked me if I wanted to go on the road, and I was like, okay, sure, that sounds like fun. And that was the beginning of a 4-year adventure of basically being in a rock and roll circus adventure.
I moved out here from East Coast, Boston area. Excuse my voice. Just because I wanted to go west, and that was it. I was 18. So when I joined the samples, I was like 18, and the bars wouldn't let me go in. We'd have to negotiate this whole thing. I'd go in there. You can't drink. Okay, all right. And that's the way it went. Yeah.
Yeah, CU was one of 2 schools that accepted me to college, and I was actually accepted conditionally, where I had to come out and do summer school and prove I was college material. And I thought, well, Colorado sounds fun, so I showed up, never saw the place, had no idea, and that was 26 years ago, and I've never left since.
I'd say the best music in the possibly even the globe is right here, right now. I would say hottest spot, period, Denver. And Highway50 rocks Denver now. And it's just welcomed and plentiful. Many people, you know.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that makes this music scene so cool here is the fact that it's really not competitive. That it's very cooperative and everybody helps each other. And I find support all over the place, and it's really, you know, it's almost cliche to use the word family, but it has that element to it where everyone plays in each other's bands, everybody helps out, you know. So
and that's also what we've constructed. I don't know what's going on out there, but as far as my experience is what he's saying. Like I came back from Boston after moving back there, I would say, why'd I ever move? You know, really. So
yeah, a lot of positive vibes in the music scene here.
Yeah, I would say easy here. I mean, I play every week, multi times, and in Boston it was like you're almost paying to play.
Oh yeah, and like, you know, LA is impossible. You know, unless you're a top name act, it's really tough to get gigs. And here, you know, people will help you out. They'll, you know, musicians will put in good words to club owners and say, hey, we want our friends to play with us, or kind of thing. I mean, it's true there aren't a whole lot of places to play, so that may be where
that's the biggest thing right there.
Some competition might come in, but it's certainly not the vibes amongst the musicians. Everybody wants everybody else to play.
I took a long time off from music and then came back to it, and then I somehow with some friends, and Darren being a major one, my friend Scott Stammers, he basically convinced me to start playing music again. I had like just thrown it away, but so that's how Highway 50 started. And Highway 50 I got from running out of gas on Highway 50, because there's this stretch of Highway 50 in Utah where there's a sign, if you don't have a full tank, get gas here. So that gas station is smart.
Yeah, you know, after, well, basically in '97 there was sort of an end of a chapter of the samples, and at that point they didn't need all the crew members, but I was also getting a little sick of being the lighting guy, and so at that point I started building a recording studio and focused more on playing music and playing in bands and focusing on the production side of things. So roughly 10 years later, when Al came back into town, I built it up and had gained some skills and was ready to start producing quality music.
I collect life's experiences, and I turn them into music, and I put the words to it, whatever I've experienced, which gets pretty personal because a lot of it was done without instruments. So I put most of that Highway 50 stuff together without an instrument, and that's where I got it from. So samples I just kind of played keyboards. I wrote some tunes, but a lot of it was Sean Kelly's excellent melodies and stuff. I'd write something and I'd say, okay, sing something, and that's what would come out. Highway 50 is kind of the same, but it's more, I have definite ideas on where I'm going. Samples, I was just kind of playing keyboards.
I actually write from the opposite end of the spectrum from how Al does it. I write sort of starting with the technical aspects and going off sort of the theory and tried and true stuff. So it's actually one of the things that make he and I a good song crafting team, is that Al shows up with this raw inspiration and these awesome hooks, and then I take it and apply more of the fundamentals to it and just tweak it up a little bit to make a whole package.
And what kind of music do you play?
I'd say that's ska, reggae, hip hop, ska hop.
Because I've heard it called sublimey. Have
I've
you
heard that too. I don't think there's other, for a lot of the people that say that, I don't think they have another reference point. So they go to Sublime. I don't really hear that at all because I was playing reggae music probably, I think they were half my age. So
I was gonna say, in 5 years, as far as music goes, I'd like to be right where we are right now, where it's like playing a lot and writing a lot and feeling such upward momentum, I mean, I really feel like the wind's at our back right now, and so if we can still have that 5 years from now, that'll be a dream.
As long as we can play steady, and everyone wants to have somewhat success with it because it makes you feel good about it. But as long as everyone's still rocking it, and it's not like playing the empty rooms, I'm pretty good. But I would like to go play Red Rocks by the summer, and it's very possible. One Highway 50 record, iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, also on Reverb Nation and SoundCloud and all that. And Darren actually helped do a big part of that CD, so we can get things rolling.
Basically, Al and I have been working at my studio here in Boulder, and we've got 15, 16 new tunes written. We're a good portion of the way through the at least the preliminary recording process, where we're just getting some material on tape so we can get it to the musicians, and then we're going to do what's essentially a live in studio album. It's going to be a sort of old school, new school mixture of techniques, and then we'll move out of my studio and into another friendly studio here called Violet Recording, where we have access to some really awesome equipment and some great engineers, and we have an opportunity to work in a really comfortable environment, and hopefully be able to get what's in our heads out to everybody else.
What musicians in your past have influenced you guys?
Which ones haven't?
Yeah, I know. Well, starting when I was first born, I don't know, my dad had a big jazz collection, like you see the vinyl right here. Very, I'll hit the Dave Brubeck, the Coltrane and all that stuff, but that wasn't really my thing. It was mostly reggae and like Bob Marley and ska music, Desmond Decker, and that comes out in Highway50 a lot, all that stuff. And originally I didn't really wasn't a great keyboard player, but I'd stick with what I knew, and so that's why reggae music was really conducive. It was sparse, you can't overplay, but I couldn't overplay because I didn't know how. So I'd say that's why I took to that style, the ska and the reggae.
I started from more of classic rock, and then thanks to my uncle discovered Frank Zappa when I was about 15, and I listened to Frank Zappa for like the next 5 years without listening to much of anything else, and then all of a sudden started listening to some reggae music, and I felt like I already knew it. It was sort of like a musical home almost, and that's totally my musical comfort food. And when it comes to writing music, I'm pretty much always going to start writing it from a reggae perspective.
Buddies in Blacksburg, Virginia, in the hills. Absolute worst gig. It totally got lost. It was like Deliverance, and without Burt Reynolds. Yeah, no, that was the worst one.
Did you have to squeal piggy? There.
Right.
Sorry, I gotta cut that part.
Squeal like a pig?
Yeah. That would make for a pretty bad gig.
That would, yeah. I think that is the worst one I've ever heard. No, really, why was it the worst?
I don't know. All I remember is the guy who was playing percussion became the lead singer that night, Chad, and it was just, it drove everyone away. It was, who cares? But what are worst gigs? I don't really see them as worst. That was actually a great gig. Now that I think about it, take it all back.
I would say, but yeah, there are no real bad gigs. I've never had one, but I've had some horrific moments. Like I saved Al from falling off the stage at a place in Denver one night. Where he wanted to stand on the monitor and didn't notice that it wouldn't support his weight, and he started to fall over, and he grabbed his keyboard rig to save him, and it started falling over. And then Andrew, the trombone player, and I caught it all right in the middle of the tune.
My life was saved, actually.
And we're playing at a prominent venue in Denver. It had a big sound system, and so I'm sitting there playing bass, and all of a sudden hit all the strings and hit all the keys on the keyboard. So while I was saving Al from falling into the dance floor, it made this bang sound, and it was scary at the moment. Looking back on it, it's pretty funny because nothing bad actually happened.
Haven't played there since. Like if we hadn't have mentioned it, it could gone under the radar, but yeah.
Right, and actually the people in the audience thought it was hysterical. People were totally cheering and stuff because it was just like this.
Yeah.
It was some big, antics, but it's kind of punk rock in its own way. But
Okay.
I'm glad everything stayed on stage.
Almost killing yourself today. Yeah.
Right. It wouldn't have been fun if you had fallen off the stage, that's for sure.
No, that would have been ugly.
It would have been memorable for the audience.
Yeah, to
Sells records.
the orthopedic surgeon.
The big thing is we're pretty much ready to go. You know, we're for hire. You know, I have a three-piece horn section, a killer band, including Jeep from Original Samples, Brian Nevin from Big Ed Todd, and Sam Young, Darren, all these people, James Hamilton, these excellent players. And it's a pretty exciting live show, and that's what I've been getting off on lately. So.
And on top of that, I'd say make sure you check out the recordings. So, you know, what's up there right now is cool. It's like people really aren't making CDs or albums the way, you know, in the sort of old school way. You know, I mean, the Highway50 album has, the current one has 16 tunes on it, and the next one's going to be the same way. You know, they're like real albums. It's like an hour-long journey. You know, we expect to have this next one out sometime in the fall, and so stay tuned.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Really
appreciate that.